We would like to thank the university, the staff, and the faculty members for making this event possible. I also would like to thank the presence of our remarkable speakers that joined us today.
First, let us introduce to Master in Science, Maria Acosta, currently working on a systematic review regarding vitiligo and depression, along with ASUCT students, and in the identification of bacteria and fungi in Veracruz. With a Master in Science in Neurobiology from the Universidad Autónoma de México, awarded with the travel grant to participate in the Latin America School of Neurosciences in 2008 by the International Brain Research Organization in San Jose, Costa Rica. Awarded a travel grant to participate in the Latin America Summer School of Epilepsy in 2008 by the International League Against Epilepsy in Sao Paulo, Brazil. With a publication in Optical Research Experiments for Fibroblast Cell Growth Stimulation and a presentation about cholinergic signaling among neurons in 2015. During the Brain Awareness Week in Universidad Manuela Beltrán from Bogotá, Colombia. Please give a round of applause.
Let us also introduce the remarkable Dr. Maria del Rio. Right after finished her degree, Del Rio began teaching Polytechnic University of Madrid. Then she won a scholarship for a doctorate in the Canadian Islands. Upon competition, she decided to come to Mexico to develop her career, both in the field of research and teaching. She taught physics and mathematics in Guanajuato, UTT, and Puebla, and the undergraduate level, and radio astronomy at the graduate level. Now, she's a faculty member of Arkansas State University Campus Querétaro. She has published several articles and lectures on topics related to galactic and extragalactic astronomy. And now she's developing in a fascinating branch of big data science, management, and analysis. She also loves giving popular talks. Please, a round of applause.
We also have the honor to have Dr. Alejandra Ochoa, currently Director of the Instituto de Ciencia, Tecnología e Innovación of the state of Michoacán. Bachelor's degree in Basic Biomedicine from the Universidad Autónoma de México, Master's degree in Physiological Science, and Doctor of Science in Neurobiology from the Neurobiology Institute in the UNAM. Part of the Mexican Academy of Sciences, winner of Richardson of the state of Michoacán in 2007, recipient of the 2013 Research Grant from Mexico, awarded by the International Center for Genetic Engineering and Biotechnology, and awarded with the State Science Prize for her scientific work with a gender perspective. Please give a round of applause.
We also count on the remarkable participation of Master in Science, Ana Maria Olivarria, with a Master's in Business Administration from CETIS University, and a bachelor's degree in Mechanical Engineering Manager at Collins Aerospace, Tool Design Manager, Design for Focal or Soft Tooling, and Design for Focal in EBU, Engineering Building Unit, and UTC Aerospace System, UTAS, EBU Design Engineering, Installations, and External Design Engineer at Honeywell Aerospace. Please give a round of applause.
Lastly, we are pleased to introduce Ms. Naima Lacut, currently in charge of the Developmental Neurobiology Lab, Neurosciences Division in the Instituto Mexicano del Seguro Social. Bachelor's degree in Basic Biomedical Research from the Universidad Autónoma de México, and a doctorate in Biomedical Sciences from UNAM. With 26 published scientific articles, winner of 7 distinctions at national and international levels, member of the journal BMC Neuroscience, member of the International Society of Regulatory Peptides, member of the North American Neurotrauma Society, and member of the Neuroscience Society in the United States. Please give a round of applause.
Now that we have presented our speakers, I now declare inaugurated the round table. We want to remind the participants that they will have 5 to 2 minutes maximum to answer the questions. Our peer will show a card Then it will be remaining 2 and 1 minute left for your participation. As stated in the agenda, we will start. The answers order will be the following: Master in Science Acosta, Dr. Del Rio, and Dr. Ochoa. Master in Science Olivarria, and Dr. Lahu.
The first question is, why did you choose to become a scientist?
Well, that was a fortunate decision that I made, starting with a book. In my family, the highest level of education was held by mentors. And I remember that I had an uncle who had a physiology book and human anatomy book. And I was so curious because I needed to do homework, biology homework. And I started to check the book, but not only for my homework. I started to be so distracted about other topics. So that is the starting point of my curiosity in science. But with that book, I wanted to be a doctor in medicine. But afterwards, I discovered how passionate I was in biology during my middle and high school. But everything started, as I told you, with a book. So this book was the starting point for me. And I felt so fascinated, and I said, I want to do something like this. But of course, that was very strange in my family because the women in my family, they didn't have the chance to go to not even high school. My mother, for example, doesn't have a high school. She finished elementary school. And that was a motivation for me because I said, okay, why I cannot be the pioneer? Everything that was given in my family was only for men. School, mathematics, they were good, they were more intelligent. And I said, you know, I'm so angry about it. So I wanted to be the rebel in my house, especially with the men of my family. So that's why I decided to pursue a career in science, just like a rebel. Everything started by a rebel movement that I had in my family.
Thank you very much, Dr. Del Rio.
Okay, I started also with a book, but in a different way. When I was at high school, we had a popular talk about the beginning of the universe. So many years ago, before internet, before nice science fiction series, not before Cosmos, not so long. But you know, it was a super interesting popular talk, and the book is the first 3 minutes in the universe by a Nobel Prize. So if you have the opportunity to read that, it's a tiny book, it's quite popular, so I recommend it so much. I was interested also in biology, I have to confess. But after the first labs and the poor mice is dying in my hands, I decided to kill stars instead of mice. So I changed to my preferences to physics because I feel I was good in math, good in physics, and mainly I was curious. I was a curious child since I was really a child. And answering questions, not just in physics or biology, answering questions, making questions was my passion. So I started like that. Also, I couldn't compare myself with my family because I'm the oldest brother, the oldest cousin. So I was a pioneer also with the higher education in my family. And I'm really happy every day of my life of my choice. It's really, really exhausting sometimes, but always regarding a huge prize, at least knowing something else every day. So I can recommend with all my heart that if you are a curious person and you don't want to be rich, start research. Okay, because maybe you're not going to be rich, probably. But you're going to be really happy. Okay, so that's my advice.
Thank you very much, Dr. Del Rio. Please, Dr. Ochoa.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I believe that my interest in science started since ever. I mean that as far as I can remember, I always had an innate curiosity about everything. Mainly, I was motivated by my family and by my teachers at school. I remember that I used to go to the museums with my grandparent, and I was always wonder why this or why that, etc. When I was in high school, I was not pretty sure about what to study. I like everything, maths, physics, chemistry, biology, etc. But when I realized about the career of biomedical research at National University at UNAM, I didn't doubt about it. I knew that a science career would take a long way, but I was willing to take this long way. And for good luck, I was selected to be incorporated at the Biomedical Research Institute to study biomedical sciences. But I think that any career, if I would study anything else, for example, I like a lot medicine, I would end in doing research because I think that research is my passion in any area. Well, that's what I think. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Master in Science, Olivaria.
Hi, everyone. Hearing all the different inputs from the people on this panel, I keep thinking that when I was in high school, I kind of knew that I was, I'll say, good at math. Not necessarily good, but it was something that I kind of liked at the time. I also like chemistry. That particular subject, I think that it was easier to me, but not necessarily that I liked it, right? So when I was about graduating high school, I took a look of like what industries, I don't know if it was mentioned, but I'm located in Mexicali, which is in the northern west side in Mexico. We're the border with California. So looking at the area and what was being developed and what was going on kind of gave me an idea of, okay, these are the opportunities. This is somewhere I would like to work. And again, by finishing high school, we were having these concentrations of like either you go with physics and math or like sciences and different topics for each of the classrooms. So I ended up on the math and physics. So it was kind of a natural thing for me to pursue a career in this type of subjects. When I got to the college where I studied, which was here in Mexicali, to be honest with you, I chose mechanical engineering because I kind of misread the pamphlet. I thought it was something more related to like industrial design, but it was very well written. So they lured me into mechanical engineering because it was starting with an idea and then materializing it, right? So mid-career, I was like, this is not what I read like 2.5 years ago. But turns out I kind of like the challenges. And this was a very challenging career. And so it kept me really interested. And just as the doctor said, I'm very grateful for the opportunity and career that I chose.
Thank you very much, Master in Science, Olivaria. Please, Dr. Laur.
Hi, guys. Well, actually, to be honest, I never actually made the choice of being a scientist. By the time I actually took the time to think about it and make a decision, I was already a scientist. I grew up, as many of you, in a middle-class Catholic family where nothing was expected from women. I was never taught to think about what I wanted to be when I grew up. I was told that I was supposed to study, yeah, because college is a place where you're supposed to find a good husband, and it was a good idea to have a backup plan in case my husband divorces me and I needed to work. So my parents never actually thought that I would ever work for a living or have a profession. In the same way as many other scientists, I was also a curious girl. I used to sneak out to my brother's room to read his Nat Geo magazines. I would spend the afternoons reading the encyclopedia because it was fun, but nobody ever expected anything from me. It was like, yeah, you have to go to college, get a husband, and that's it. So when I was in high school, as many of you, I was supposed to choose a major, and I was good in biology, so biology was my thing. And one of my classmates taught me about the same career as Dr. Ochoa told you in biomedical research. And I had a great professor, and she told me, don't waste your time, go to this place. So I applied, I was accepted, I finished college, and I said, okay, now I have to work. And I started working in industry, in a pharmaceutical company. And that's when it hit me. I realized that I hated private initiative, and that actually I was already a researcher and I was a scientist, and I wanted to do science for the rest of my life. So I decided to go back to research and start a PhD. But to be honest, nobody ever told me to think about what I wanted to do when I was a grown-up. I was supposed to choose something that I liked to study. That's something I should enjoy studying, because you have to enjoy your years in college. But nobody ever expected me to actually be a professionist, nevertheless, or much less a scientist. Honestly, that's the story.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lacu. The second question is, which topic are you working on at the moment? Why did you choose this topic, and how do you think you will make a relevant impact?
What? Relevant
Impact.
Relevant impact. You have the word.
Well, I like to work in many things, as some of you know, that I want to be in many projects as possible, no matter the topic. Because I really like to answer questions and help my students to answer those questions. Actually, I think you're smarter than me. And I just want to hear your questions and answer them. So currently I'm working in 3 different things, but the one that I'm more focusing is vitiligo and its relationship with depression in terms of the pathways, in terms of the proteins that regulate the different pathways that are in this disease, but also in depression, right? Because there is a common pattern with people that suffer from vitiligo, and many people think that is a social thing because people observe them because of the patches that they have on their skin. But I think that there is something else over there, and I want, with my students here, to find out if there are some proteins that will be common that regulate both pathways. So we are working on that, and of course, this will be of a huge impact, because now we can give, maybe, I'm a dreamer, maybe we can find a treatment for them for not suffering from depression because of these patches, because the thing is that these people suffer from discrimination, but there is something else. I think there is something else, so we are, with my students, checking all the literature possible and studying the pathways that are the basis of melanogenesis, vitiligo, and depression. Of course, we started working on this project last year. And of course, this year we're not going to finish. We are still working on that, but also I'm working in other things, in curcumin and cell viability, the effect that curcumin can have in yeast is a very novel model for studying. So I'm working also on that. And with another student, we're working in the typification of a certain area of Veracruz in terms of the microorganisms, not all, of course, but microorganisms that are located in a river. That is important because there are many people living surrounded by this river. So these are the projects that we're working in, because we can find solutions, practical solutions in these 3 different projects. So I like to work on things that have an application. Of course, maybe not directly from what I'm studying, but that can help to answer questions for making the applications. And I hope that in the near or maybe in the far future, we have these answers for helping engineers and other people to make this in a practical way. And actually, I wanted to mention something. Yeah, I used to work in a pharmaceutical company as one of the panelists. And why do you think I'm here? Because I got bored the first year. I was working in pharmacovigilance, and I said, you know, I don't want to be rich. I decided not to be. I will sacrifice money for happiness. Yeah, and that's why I came to Mexico to pursue science, because I quit it. And I was earning good money, guys, very good money. But I said, no way, this is not my cup of tea. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Master in Science Acosta. Please, Dr. Del Rio.
Okay, I want to put it in context to see why I'm jumping like an insect. So I started my research in the galaxy, in our Milky Way, in dark clouds. From there, my PhD was in other galaxies about studying the rotation of the grand design of the beautiful arms. My postdoc was related to not so beautiful galaxies that were the elliptical galaxy, all galaxies, all formation, etc., but with dark matter that you can measure. But after that, I moved myself more into the teaching than the research, and now I cannot have a radio telescope. I don't know why. But I moved again to the new world of machine learning and big data. And I was working with a colleague about studying the surface of the eyes and try to detect keratoconus, that is a disease quite nasty because you cannot correct with glasses. So we apply machine learning to see how, if you study the circles over the eyes with light, you can predict or at least classify the disease. And now, as some of you know, I'm collaborating with the cluster, in the vitivinicole cluster here, about zoning, that is studying the weather, the soil, the temperatures, the raining, the phases of the vines, etc., through satellite images, mainly. Also with the data from INEGI, but mainly with satellite images. So I came from study looking like this to study looking like that. Images. Finally. So that's it.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ochoa.
Yes, since I was working in Universidad Michoacana, I started to work with small molecules called antimicrobial peptides. These molecules are produced by all organisms, but we were interested in that moment in study these molecules from plants, in particular with molecules obtained from avocado seed, and from Chile habanero. And we explored at that moment, 2002, too many years ago, if these molecules also could modulate or to regulate the immune response in mammals. So these molecules are produced by plants, but we try to explore if these molecules modulate the immune response in mammals, and we found that these molecules were able to regulate the inflammatory response, so we were very happy. We mainly use a model of mastitis and udder inflammation, an inflammation of the udder of cows in vitro, an in vitro model using mammary epithelial cells. So we're working with these cells, and we analyze if these cells can defend or can respond more efficiently against infections, for example, against Staphylococcus aureus infection. So these molecules regulate innate immune response, inflammatory response in general, using this model, but we also work, we explore if these molecules could regulate cancer cells, the growth of cancer cells, using different kinds of cancer, leukemias, colon cancer cells, and also ovary cancer cells, etc., etc. So these molecules have many functions beyond their antimicrobial functions. So I started to work with these molecules because they were very well, I forgot to mention that these molecules are the main function is against bacteria, is against to kill bacteria. So the functions of these molecules are very wide functions. So I consider that we can explore more and more functions about antimicrobial peptides, but we are also working with other molecules also obtained from avocado, mainly fatty acids that also have immunomodulatory functions. So we are exploring all different functions of all these kinds of molecules, and in particular, we are trying to solve health problems, in particular cancer problems, but we are trying to explore if these molecules can also attack cancer cells, inducing apoptosis. So that's what we are doing now, and now we have a patent in development. So we try to explore much more functions about these molecules. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ochoa. Please, Master in Science, Olivario.
So I'm working on a mechanical design in aerospace industry. I'm currently working on, I was trying to summarize it, but we currently are working on finding different types of materials where we can build both components and tooling. So one of the initiatives that we're pursuing is making sure that we have either, if it's thermoplastics, thermostats, 3D printing type of materials that we can use to sustain and keep reliability above everything, efficiency, and how can we make an impact also in the environment. There's a lot of green initiatives that we're pursuing that align with our customers, and being in an aerospace industry, which is one of the most, it creates, there's a lot of components and, a carbon footprint that we naturally have within the products that we work on. So we're trying to find materials to sustain those green initiatives. That's kind of like a high-level overview of what we're working on, but also it matters, and I think it's what takes great efforts in our day-to-day. It's creating processes for it. So while we have the research and technology phases for that, we also develop processes. And sometimes that's the part where we need to, document, understand what the best practices are. There's a lot of creativity in these type of phases, because along the way with the teams that I have the opportunity to lead or contribute, there comes along patents or new ways, new processes to do things. But by doing a process and it involves documentation and again, understanding what the best practices, developing new steps. We develop something that can have efficiency, reliability, and continuity. So that's currently what I'm working on.
Thank you very much. Dr. Lahu.
Okay, so as they told you in the beginning, I work for the National Institute of Social Security, IMSS. So I work on health research, and I'm head of the neurodevelopmental biology laboratory. I always get confused with the words in English, but I'm a PI. That's what Americans call us. And in my lab, we are interested in studying how early life stress, either in animals, animal models, or in humans in the form of adverse childhood experiences, affects the development of the central nervous systems, and that increases the vulnerability to many diseases in adulthood. We are doing this from a translational point of view, so we work with basic research in animals, trying to understand the molecular mechanisms underlying the effects of stress, also with preclinical animal models, and we are working with the clinical population here at the clinics. So currently we are now working on two main research lines. In one side, we're interested in studying abusive head trauma as a form of early life stress. It is known that children that are victims of abusive head trauma have less chances of recovering successfully than children that are victims of accidents. But nobody takes into consideration that abusive head trauma is just one dominion of child abuse or early life stress. Abused kids surely are exposed to many other forms of early life stress, such as neglect or physical or psychological abuse or other kind of adverse things, and nobody takes into consideration that increased vulnerability induced by stress. So we're studying that in animal models. We have a preclinical model of traumatic brain injury that we're doing in our lab in combination with our early life stress, and we're trying to search for mechanisms and also some therapeutic approaches like rehabilitation and stuff like that. Also, we are working on the relationship between early life stress and the intestinal microbiome. Specifically, we are interested in modifying the intestinal microbiome or the gut microbiome in order to search for translationally relevant strategies to revert the effects of stress. One of the things we have seen here in the clinic is that although preventing child abuse is the importance of preventing child abuse is undeniable and it's really important. For us, it's more important to deal with its consequences because we already have a big population in our clinics that suffered abuse or stress or negligence or poverty 20 or 30 years ago. And now they have all the diseases associated to it and they have no options for treatment. So we are studying how modifying their gut microbiome could give them some kind of hope for treatment. And also in the clinical population, we are starting to study from a more epidemiological point of view, what's the distribution of adverse early life experience in our population, because we're trying to do this from it's called a more sociological point of view. Most of the studies about this subject have been done in the global north. And there are few studies that focus on Latin American populations. The few that focus on us are on immigrants in the States, and they rarely study us in our settings. So we are studying the frequency of adverse early life experience in our population. And just as a hint, I can tell you that at least for us here in Michoacán, 90% of our population suffered at least one form of stress when they were children, and 70% of them suffered more than 4. So this is a significant health issue and could be one of the explanations for why we have high ratios of depression, diabetes, obesity, and all these stress-related disorders. And also about the part of the question about how you think you will make an impact. Honestly, the impact we think we're going to make it's on the students. People will tell you that, yeah, we're looking for therapeutic strategies. And yeah, honestly, we wish we could find the cure for stress or the cure for depression. But research does not work like that. Many findings are serendipitous, and most of the times when you try something, it doesn't work. So when I was a student, I dreamed about winning a Nobel Prize and curing some big disease. Nowadays, I am more mature, and I think that the impact we can make is obviously knowledge, but the bigger impact we can do is in our students. Teaching our students how to be good scientists and good humans is the part where we can make a real impact.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lacos. The third question is, did you ever doubt about your abilities as a scientist? Why and how did you overcome this?
Well, that's a difficult question. Of course, I doubted many times, but it was because of the information you get from others. Who are the others? Your family, your mentors, or even your peers. And they make you doubt all the time because they treat you sometimes in not a very nice way. So they say, no, you're not good for this. For example, with females, with girls, when we are little children, what happens with little girls? And now you're not good at math. Math is for men, right? And we are told many things that are not true. And of course, I doubted if I was good enough for being a scientist. Because as I told you before, in my family, nobody is a scientist. I am the only one. Some of them are engineers, or they didn't even study. But of course, when you have this toxic environment, not only in the family nucleus, but in the surroundings, because you are a woman, of course, you start to doubt if you are good enough for pursuing a scientific career. It happened to me. And how I overcame this? Of course, there are also good people, nice people that encourage you and see things that maybe are blurred at a particular moment because of these negative comments. But there are always people that tell you good things, positive things about what you can reach, how good you are. And I think that was the hope that I always had when I started to pursue my career. And it was like a hand for me, for holding there and say, okay, yeah, maybe I'm not bad enough for quitting. Because it happened to me in my personal experience. I had bad experiences with the academic environment. And I remember many bad comments that I don't want to talk about. I mean, because I only have 5 minutes, I can take 3 hours talking about this. But no, let's make it short. But there was one professor, a male, who told me, you know, you don't even can be able to have a baby because you're not capable of anything. And of course, I was depressed, I was sad, I felt bad about it. But this gave me just a chance to try in another place. And another place was UNAM, the most prestigious Latin American university. And guess what? I passed the exam, I passed the interview, and I became a scientist. Well, not at that moment, but I was able to continue my science career. So you need to be very confident, and that's my advice, but also in my personal experience, I had this hope, and this hope made me to continue. So the overcoming was due to these hopes that also the external environment gave. Of course, it was more negative than positive, but here I am, guys. So we can do it, okay? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Master in Science Acosta. Please, Dr. Del Rio.
Okay, regarding this topic, my doubts were more inner. than outer. Not because a gen suffers an attacks like you need to live with your parents' fortune because you are never gonna be an astronomer. That was said directly by the director of an observatory, or things like similar. But the answer of, I'm gonna say my body, because it was something from the gods, you're gonna see if you are not gonna be an astronomer or not. So when I have these kind of doubts, it's regarding myself. So I really come to that. And how do you overcome this? Working harder. That's the answer. Working harder, because yes, you can is a known sentence, but yes, you can. We can. All can. So if you try hard, if you work hard, you can overcome all these external or internal doubts or attacks, or call as you prefer. But I think it's healthy to doubt of yourself from time to time. Otherwise, you are in the opposite position of I know everything and the others are idiots. So to maintain the balance, I think it's healthy to doubt from time to time. And obviously overcome these doubts.
Thank you very much, Dr. Del Rio. Dr. Alejandra Ochoa.
Yes, thank you. Of course, that I have done many times. Why? Well, I don't know. Perhaps because science is a questioning career. So as a scientist, you have questions about everything, including yourself. And in addition, as the other professor said, this is a gender issue too. It was more evident for all generations, for generation as mine, because as a woman, I developed my career in a male world where much importance was given to the opinion or the qualifications of male mentors many years ago. That's why the way science built, the opinion of males mentors was very important. For fortune, now we are living other times, I think. And this is one, I consider that this is one of the reasons why women are, why we are very insecure about ourselves. So how to overcome this? Well, I think that with maturity, with growing up, insecurities evolve, but you also have to focus your mind in the things that are important, because you have to focus on your research, on your experience, and you have to say to yourself many times that you can do it. I think that now I don't know if in English the word is the same, but sorority or sororidad in Spanish is a good example. As women, we have partners and we can work with our partners, and that's an example of how to overcome these doubts about our questioning about being a scientist, a woman scientist, a scientist in a male world. But I think that times are changing for fortune and for the new generation. So that's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ochoa. Please, Master in Science, Olivaria.
No, I agree with the previous panelists. Yes, I doubted my, like the capabilities and capacities, within this field that we work on. And it took me years to understand that I certainly don't know everything within the roles and jobs that I've had. Oftentimes I found myself in meetings just nodding along, talking to myself like, yeah, just pretend you know what they're talking about. We'll figure it out later. But that's the thing. So once we get to the point of understanding, hey, it's not expected for us to know everything, which is something that oftentimes it's something we come up with that idea, right? I think the best way to do that is either you find the way to know or get access to the information, but it's really important to know when to ask for help. For me, it has been natural in the roles and jobs that I've had to look for a mentor. And I mean, a mentor can be someone that you can go and ask questions, and sometimes I'll be like, hey, I know this is very basic, but I didn't understand. Like, can you explain to me this? And I'll make notes. And then you realize there's people in the same meeting nodding along just like yourself. And by asking questions, the answers sometimes are not just for one person, but for others in the team that, you know, had doubts or needed that information as well. So we're not expected to know everything. Everything requires, and it's intended to have a learning process, and don't be afraid to ask for help. I have the opportunity to lead teams of engineers, and I have this saying, it's okay not to know. It's not okay pretending you know what you're doing, because chances are we're gonna have something to be fixed after the fact, right? So don't be afraid to ask for help, mentors or your peers, or just asking around. Let me tell you, Google, it's a great source of information, but you know, you have to know where and what to look for, right? So we have a lot of tools that we can use. But what has worked for me is find someone that you know that can solve your or help you develop the skills that we need. And also don't be afraid to do research on your own. And then, you know, we need to work to get the answers, but don't be afraid to ask for help.
Thank you very much, Master in Science Olivarria. Please, Dr. Lahoud.
Well, mainly all the things that I was going to say, they've been said, but I'm going to repeat them. Yes, imposter syndrome is a trademark of women in science. We all suffer from it. It's like, it's there. We think it's not there, but it's always there. And to be honest, I never got to overcome it. I never got to go past it. I still suffer from it. I learned to cope with it, but I never got to overcome it. And my strategies to coping with imposter syndrome are 3. The first ones have already been mentioned: have a good mentor and sorority. For me, having a good mentor changed my life. I found myself a mentor that is not only a good scientist, but a good human being, and he knows me. I have a wonderful mentor that even though now I am a grown-up scientist, I can still WhatsApp him in the States and tell, Anthony, my project, I'm not sure if my presentation was okay. And he says things like, yeah, your project is good. Yeah, this is a question. Or sometimes he just said, honey, I chose you as my postdoc. I know you are a good scientist. Keep that in mind. So that's a good thing. Have a good mentor that is going to solve your questions, but also is going to give you support when you need it. He's going to have like a small push and tell you, remember, you're good. And that kind of support can also come from sorority. I learned that if I surround myself with smart, intelligent scientists, women scientists, I get some strength with them. It's good to talk to them, especially with feminist scientists, that they teach you, yeah, no, sweetie, this is not you. This is the system telling you that you are not good enough, but this is not you. I know you're a smart person and you're doing fine. And the other thing that works for me is to go back to my past accept, and this is something somebody told me, your PhD is as good as anybody else's. You already got the PhD. You already are a scientist. Remember, you already passed that. You are as much as a doctor as anybody else. And also, like, for me, I work in the medical field, and medical doctors, oh my God, they care about format and not about form. And I've received really, really aggressive comments throughout my career, mainly based on the fact that I was a young scientist and a woman. So for me, when that kind of backlash or bad comments came, obviously I was depressed, imposter syndrome would come by and everything. But for me, what worked was go back and say, wait a minute. This exact same project won an award a few years ago. So I know the project is good. It's just this guy that it's looking for something to point out, because in medicine, if a reviewer doesn't find an error, means he's not a good scientist. So they always want to find an error. They will never tell you the work is good. So for me, what works is to remember, no, I presented this work before and I received good comments. So no, the work is not bad. It's just another point of view. So that allows you to like calm down, take the good parts, take the parts that are going to improve your work, and let go the others. So in conclusion, get a good mentor, get good friends, and remember you already did the job.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lockwood. To conclude with the round of questions, the fourth question is, which advice would you give to the younger generations of STEM in women, for women in STEM? Please, Master in Science Acosta.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I can give you many advice, girls, for pursuing science. I mean, you're already here. It means that you're capable. Never doubt about who you are. Of course, we are going to doubt, as we said, because yeah, we sometimes doubt who we are. But this is the most difficult question. That's the question. Who am I, right? Not only women, men also have this question. But if you like it, go for it. My mom has in Spanish a saying, al que le gusta le sabe. If you like it, go for it. And it doesn't matter what the others think about you. When you have, like my colleague said, when you surround yourself with people that encourage you, just stick to these people and get away from people who are always discouraging you. In my personal opinion, of course, that's the nicest thing about teaching, not giving you information, not making you to know something about the cell, about chemistry, but transmitting my experience as a scientist for motivating you to continue in science. But always think how good you are. Always, every day, if you have the chance to have a mirror, look at yourself in the mirror and say how beautiful, how amazing you are as human beings. This is the most rewarding thing that we can do, because remember, in terms of neuroscience, we have this reinforcement all the time. So if you reinforce an idea, at the end, even if you don't believe at the beginning, you will end up believing that, because you repeat and repeat. It's like when somebody tells you bad things. At the end, you finish believing those bad things. Why don't you start encouraging yourself with good things every time in the mirror? Like, I think it's Daddy Yankee. Daddy Yankee says that his competence is the mirror. And that will be your competence, guys. The mirror should be your competence. So, yeah, look, even in this type of music, something good comes out, right? And this is something true. Your competence should be the mirror. It means yourself, okay? Just worry about to be a better person or a better scientist or a better professional the next day. And every day is an opportunity to start all over again. If you made mistakes in the past, okay, try to fix them. No problem of making mistakes, as my colleague said. We all make mistakes every day. So this is an invitation for you to continue. You are already here in science. So you did the most difficult part. Make the decision.
Thank you very much, Master. Please, Dr. Del Rio.
Okay, I would like to resume just one word, perseverate. You are doing something that you like. Don't be afraid of ask for help, obviously. And I must confess I am slightly blind about gender. So in all my life, so I have women friends, men friends, and colleagues, and I always have the support of my friends, of my colleagues, regardless of the gender. So yes, sometimes we as women have more difficulties to move forward, but if you try harder, you finally got that. So don't give up, maintain this strength that brings you here. So to study here, science career is not the easy choice for many of you, us, me, but is this what you like? This is your goal. So perseverate, and we are here all for us. That is, we help among us, and obviously we help you. So do this, form this network with your colleagues, with your friends, with your family to support your decisions. So that's-
Thank you very much, Dr. Del Rio. Please, Dr. Ochoa.
Yes, thank you. I consider that my best advice to the younger generations would be never, never, never give up. And also that it is okay to ask for help. You can ask help, as the other professor said, and also to understand that you can make mistakes, and that is okay to take mistakes. Mistakes are healthy. And because this is a very exigent career, so science is also building on hits and errors. So you can make mistakes and you can correct them. That's the wonderful of science. But if you are convinced that this is your career, the best you can do it is to continue your way. Never listen to those that say that you will never make it, even though if these people is your mentors or even your family. This is a beautiful career. This is a career also full of challenge and decision making. And also you have to consider many personal aspects. For example, the time that you would spend with your family, with your friends, or even the best time for maternity. This is other issue about science career that you have to question about that. But the importance is that if you are convinced that the science is your way, you have to continue and never, never give up. Never listen to those that say that you won't make it. That's all.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ochoa. Please, Master in Science, Olivarria.
I was listening to the previous advice, which are really great. I would only add hard work. It's something that, will be part of your job from now on. Don't give up. Know your strengths, and also take some time to know your weaknesses. And I mean this, it can be in a professional way, in a personal way, but I think it's really valuable when someone is aware of, okay, these are my strengths, can be technical, can be, soft skills. It's something that adds to a team when we're working. but also understanding what my weaknesses are, not to pick on them, but to know and understand, hey, I'm not the right one for this type of job, but I know someone who is, or I can, try to develop or learn, certainly. But it's also very valuable to understand and know your strengths and weaknesses. Always work, or I'm lucky and grateful to be on an STEM type of career. And I truly believe we make an impact. So let's continue to work hard and have continuous improvement in our knowledge and the processes that we work on. And last, just wanted to let you know that we're in this type of careers. It's challenging, but it's also fun and rewarding.
Thank you very much, Master in Science Olivaria. Please, Dr. Lahoud.
Well, honestly, I'm not a good person for giving advices. All the professional advices that have already been told, never give up, that's important. All of that, I agree. So the only thing I've left to say is a more personal advice, which is, remember that it's okay to be different. And it's okay to not fulfill all the expectations from you. To be a woman in science means that you are different. We live in a society that it's designed to make us as women fail. The patriarchy, our system, is designed to make us fail. So we are predestined to fail. So don't worry. You're not going to be the perfect wife. You're not going to be the perfect mom. It's okay to not get a husband. Look at me. It's okay not to. And I remember I was always afraid, because you grow in a society that tells you if you don't become a mother, you're going to be less of a person. If you don't have a husband, you're going to be less of a person. If you don't have a career, you're going to be less of a person. Yeah, I'm less of a person, so what? It's okay to be different, and you're going to be perfectly happy being different. Because if you are a woman that thinks means you're different, the system wants you to be something that you are not. So make the peace with it.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lahoud. We now give proper closure to the roundtable, giving the space for the public to make their questions. Please feel free to raise your hand if you have any question for any of the.
Any comments or complaints also?
Right.
We receive everything.
It's part of the assignment.
Exactly, there you go, so we are used to it. Leave them on.
Well, before ending this session, we would like to thank you for your remarkable participation in STEM Week 2023 by giving you a present from a part of the university. For that, I will ask Jael Martinez if they can help us.
We would also like to thank the time given to our participants joining online. We will share the PDF file with your diploma via email. Please give a round of applause to our.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Thanks for the invitation. And I want to say something additional, because I think, okay, we can give you all advice and we can say that the system, as Dr. Lahoud said, is designed for male, is specifically in science. But you know what? We have to change that. We are working on changing that. But we need to keep going in changing this mindset and change the system for being equivalent for us as women, not only in science, but in all aspects. So we need to keep working, guys and girls. Everybody has to work for having more opportunities in these fields that are difficult for women. So it's not something that we cannot change. We can change the system. So let's keep going, okay?
And just 2 words, let us share our experience if you have questions. Girls, guys, everyone. So please go to your professors, talk to them. If you have personal questions, not so personal. You can ask us. You can talk with us because at least we have more experience. If we don't know how to solve your problem, we can see similarities and we can give you an advice. So we are here to help you in more things than just the lessons. Okay?
Thank you.
Please, we can give a proper closure to this round table. Thank you for your time, and we hope to see you next year with another round table edition. Have a nice day.
Thank you.